Hello, farmers, or is it welcome, farmers? I don't remember. I'm Kevin,
And I'm Johnny.
and this is the harvest season where we talk about cottage core farming games, some kind of games.
Have you not recovered from the episode of genre yet, Kev?
No, Ah, that confusion was pretty popular apparently.
It was thoroughly entertaining watching you talk yourself into madness.
Yeah, it was. Oh gosh, I hadn't done that in a while, arguing against myself, I think at some point. But anyways, regardless of whatever you call it, we're here to talk about those kinds of games. In
Woo!
particular, we're here to talk about a specific group of them. The farming games you can find on the hottest game consoles, the 3DS and the Wii U. Woo! And the reason we are doing that, dear listener, because the eShop closes in less than 2 months, I believe, March 27th in the US. I don't know out there where you are, Johnny, in New Zealand, if it's still closed already, or it's the same date. Um,
I also don't actually know. I assume it's still going and it's the same date. With
yeah,
absolutely no information, I'm just going to commit to that it being the same date.
yeah. So yeah, dear listeners, this is it. This is the FOMO podcast to take your last stab at getting any 3DS and Wii U games that might pique your interest. There's a lot of them, so we're just gonna talk about the ones that matter to us, the farming. But we will get to that later. For now, Johnny, what have you been up to?
Well, as usual when you and I on the podcast, I've been snapping up a storm. I kind of
Yeah.
have hit the mid 80s
Hmm.
on the ranked ladder, which has been good. But there's been a bit of like debate over how the matchmaking works on the ladder, because it's
Oh.
not tied to your rank as much as it is tied to a sort of internal MMR. And I think because I climbed so much relatively
Hmm.
quickly, my MMR must have been quite good, and so I kind of just hit the wall of like encountering really, really good players, and I've just really hit like every cube feels like a grind at the moment. So, um,
Oh. I can relate. For most of this season, I was actually kind of struggling. I was in a bit of a funk. I was stuck in the 40s because I was just going up and down. But then I started a new deck. One that you actually tried, that Zabu Dracula deck. I tried it out like a week before you posted it, and it got me to like the 70s, and boy, did I hit a wall there. Every match comes down to like the last turn. It feels like. Um, and it's intense. What are you?
yeah, I'm also playing
Mhm.
that Zabu Dracula deck. I think that deck's really good.
It's really
Um,
good.
but I just find that once you've climbed, like I would have tried to hit Infinite this season, but I'm pretty sure I'm no longer playing against people that are at my rank, and I'm playing against, just really good players all the time,
Right?
because it kind of punishes you for playing a lot and climbing. So,
Oh,
yeah, I've been playing that. I've been playing a lot of Spiritfarer. I kind of just didn't quite get into it when it first came out, and so I've been jamming my way through that and loving that. And if you want to
yeah.
hear more about Spiritfarer, just go back and listen to any of the 3 previous
Yep,
episodes I
three
think we have
episodes.
now on
Yeah,
Spiritfarer. So go back and listen to those.
yeah. I would like to say, I haven't hit credits on Spiritfarer, but I'm like at the 95% mark where I can see where the credits are. I have the mission to beat it. I'm just cleaning up, and boy, there was a lot I didn't talk about on the episode I was on, but it's a good game, Much more than
Yeah,
that.
I think I've gone from the past week. I've gone from like 20% to 90 something percent. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's where I'm at. And then the other game I've been playing, which I will not keep playing, which I'm kind of sad about, is Hi-Fi Rush. So
Whoa, Hi-Fi Rush.
this is a game that I want to like. I'm just terrible. Like this is like every genre of game that I'm bad at stapled together. So it's a rhythm-based action adventure like combo fighter game, and I'm bad at fighting games. Can't keep combos in my head. I'm terrible at rhythm games. But this game has such great style. I like everything that it's trying to do. If any of those things sound like something that you're into, I'd highly recommend playing it. It's just the worst game for me to be playing.
Oh, I haven't played it yet, but it looks so good. I don't know if I'd be good at it. I, it has, I mean, rhythm is like, I think at the heart of it, I would say, because like
Yes.
even the story, right? Like he has like an iPod attached to his heart or something.
Yeah, the
And
whole
everything.
world is moving
Mhm.
to the beat.
Yep, the whole world's moving to the beat, which is pretty cool. And like you said, it was interesting. This was a kind of a shadow drop. There was no marketing for it, but the team dropped it and it just got a ton of love because it's so nice, so stylish and fun, and the music's really good apparently, which is, kind of important for a rhythm game.
Oh, the
Um
music's incredible. And one of the cool things is just like a real nice little thing where they have a streamer mode because they've got some licensed
yeah.
music in there.
Yeah.
But they have so if you're going to be streaming it or whatever, you can
Yeah.
avoid getting all of those fun copyright strikes.
Yeah. And I hear the original music is just as good, if not better, than some of the licensed tracks. Which awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Yeah, dear listener, I suggest you at least watch a trailer for Hi-Fi Rush, right? Even if you don't play it, just enjoy the visuals, the presentation, because yeah, that is just a game that just oozes fun and personality.
Absolutely.
Um,
And it's one of those games where I'm not going to finish it, but I will probably find, someone on YouTube and watch them finishing it.
there you go.
It's got such great style. It's an awesome game. It's just not
Yeah.
not one that I find fun to play.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I imagine that's going to be the case for a lot of people because I mean like it's not just rhythm like Guitar Hero or whatever. It's you are combating and comboing, so it's a lot of plates in the air, a lot of things you're juggling at once. I believe they do have modes to make it easier, like one where you can just ignore the rhythm and
The,
stuff
the
like
game is
that.
relatively forgiving about that sort of stuff, where
Uh-huh.
you don't like the attacks will always happen on the beat, but they get higher power or they're better if you hit them on the beat. Um, it's just not fun when you're like it can't get the timing right, right? So even though they've kind of got it, so the game will be playable even if you don't have good timing. There's just
Yeah.
that part of my brain that goes, yeah, but you're bad at this, so therefore it was less fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. The shame. But yeah, very cool. I would love to play that. I don't know if I will get to it because right now it is only on Steam, I believe, and I
Game Pass.
think
It's
on
available on
Game
Xbox
Pass.
via Game
Yeah,
Pass, which is
yeah,
the best.
yeah. That is great. I hear the Steam version is a little better because, well, for people who have good setups, the accuracy for the rhythm and all that stuff is just better on there. But whatever. It's just a great game. Looks like a cool Saturday morning cartoon, and guy has a robot arm. It's goofy fun.
Exactly. What have you been playing?
Oh. So, Snap, as well as you've said. What else have I been playing? I feel like I'm just doing my dailies on various games. I play Splatoon. E- every game I play is just it's stressful and enraging. Snap gets my blood pumping. So does Splatoon. Pokemon Unite. All lots of highs and lots of lows in all three of those games. As I said I yeah, and near done with Spiritfarer. Oh, and there is one little game called Garden Galaxy. Have you heard of it?
I have not heard of this.
Okay. Um, it's a game where you're building a garden, and that's kind of it. Think not exactly like a tycoon game because it kind of you develop your resources over time, but it's just like a big open space kind of sandbox, and you're generating little pieces and bit by bit building up a garden. It's really relaxed zen based type game. It's very clear from the presentation. The music is chill. So when I want to de-stress from all those other games that get my heart up, I play some Garden Galaxy. And who knows, I might talk about it in more detail on another time in some place. um, but yeah, Garden Galaxy. It's been interesting.
I just looked it up. It looks really like it's got a cool visual style that like yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that looking like a very relaxing game. I wish it was
yeah,
on more than just Steam.
yeah, very soft. Yeah, soft is what comes to mind with the graphics. It's like 3D isometric. It's just clicking and dragging and placing things really. But it's just enjoyable to build a little garden. Yes, but there is one other game and it's appropriate that you're on it, Johnny. I was finally able to return to and have beat Scarlet and Violet, or Scarlet, I guess my version of Scarlet. Um, yeah, I don't think I have much to add from the Greenhouse episode that we discussed it, but the only things I'll say that I think the ending was okay. The last area, Area Zero, was I think more interesting than everything else. The Elite Four was one of the best designed Elite Four experiences in any Pokemon game.
Okay,
And
so on the Greenhouse,
yeah,
I was cagey about the Elite Four because I got the sense that you might like the surprise member
I
of the Elite
was
Four.
very happy with the surprise. What's I won't ruin it for anyone else who might not have finished it, but in a almost hilarious uh incident, I was talking to my brother about it, and he also agreed that I would enjoy the surprise of the Elite Four. And I said, but the surprise probably won't be as good as X. And then the surprise happened to be X, and I was just thrilled to bits. They knew
Amazing.
what they were doing. Clearly,
They
they knew
definitely did.
what they did what they did. But yeah, but ever since I've beaten it, I'm Pokedex filling, and boy, I can see this game's doesn't have much post game now, does it? Not much to see or explore before or post credits.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like they're leaning into the ongoing raid events as their version of
Yeah,
post game content, right?
yeah,
And I think the game is meant to be set up so that collecting is meant to be a big
sure.
post game activity. I get where you're coming from though, because it feels like the game is devoid of anything to do with your Pokemon, right? Like, I caught the Charizard, and it's just like, cool. I guess you'll live in a box for forever. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That's one of my. So, like in previous Pokemon games, there were Pokemon contests. Gold and Silver had the little mini game triathlon thing. And I think that's some of my favorite stuff of Pokemon games, the little side stuff you can do with your Pokemon. And the Legends had the same problem, to be honest. Like once you caught them all, that was kind of it, I guess.
but
But
Legends was different, right? Because you weren't going on a journey with your Pokemon. That was more of
that is
more
true.
of your individual journey. The Pokemon were, yeah, it was different in that way, right? Where it was like I wasn't expecting something post game. The post game journey was more about you completing the Pokedex
Yeah,
and
yeah.
doing that.
I mean,
So
yeah. And to be fair, Legends, the first thing they tell you is you will finish the Pokedex, right? Like they're clear.
yep.
So yeah, no, you got your point there. But yeah, but I mean, all in all, I'm still playing Scarlet and Violet. So yeah, enough said about that, I think. So I think that's all I've been up to that I can think of.
News. Let's talk about news.
All right, yeah. Now to make up for my lack of interesting updates, let's talk about some actually interesting updates. We have some pretty cool news stories this week, actually. The first one, the one I'm most excited about, Mika and the Witch's Mountain. Have you seen this game or trailer at all, Johnny?
Yeah, I think this we talked about it a little bit on the previewing games for 2023, and when I saw a Kickstarter, I was a little bit curious because I thought this game was way closer to release, and turns out I was right. This is not like a early stage Kickstarter. This seems more like a Kickstarter for a bit of marketing and maybe some distribution style costs, because I think the expected delivery date they said is or the expected release date is between July and September of this year. And with the Kickstarter, there's a new trailer that dropped, and this game looks super fun. I'm really into it. I really like a game with like verticality, because I feel like that's something that a lot of games don't do. And the whole riding a broomstick, being a delivery person, and how much they've gone for the verticality, it really comes through in the trailer. I'm really excited for this.
Yep. I fully agree with all of that. For people who haven't seen it, you should check out the links. It's what I call Kiki's Delivery Service, that Studio Ghibli movie, cross the Wind Waker, because I still think it looks a lot like Wind Waker.
I think they explicitly state that both of those properties on the Kickstarter page, that they were inspired by both of those.
Well, yep.
I was reading through it this morning, and I'm pretty sure they had both of those listed.
And you know what? I really like both of those. So it's a recipe for success in my book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Eh,
agree. Go ahead.
just because I don't think we mentioned it, that the premise of this game and sort of cottagecore is that your package delivery service. So it feels like it's going to be really weighted towards the traversal and getting around the world. And I assume, although it's not clear, that the broomstick, you'll unlock features as you go that will enable you to get to new places and things
Yeah.
like that. So that's sort of the core. Gameplay loop that they're going
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. She has a cat just like Kiki. Um,
Yeah. So
but
I just found the games that they referenced. So you got two of the three things that they referenced. They referenced Kiki's Delivery Service and Wind Waker. The third thing that they reference is a short hike, which
oh,
is an
I can
amazing
see that.
game. Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing little game, sort of contained on an island. If you haven't played a short hike, you should definitely play a short hike. And very story driven, right? So it kind of makes me hopeful that Mika and the Witch's Mountain will have a strong story element to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. There's clearly a lot of love and work that has gone into this. And like you said, one very refreshing thing, this is a Kickstarter that does not worry me, right? Because every Kickstarter, or 99% of them, are, I approach them with a bit of skepticality, or however you want to call it. Like, how long is it going to take to come out? What's it actually going to look like? But this game, the trailers look like a video game, one that's actually close to finishing, like you said. Very polished, very well done. And it is, in fact, fully funded on the Kickstarter. So, that's coming out. And I believe they are actually giving out demos to certain people. I don't know the process to request it, but I have a friend who streams and she was able to get a demo code. Um, so it will be exciting to see more people actually get their hands on it. But I'm very, very excited for this one. I need to back it.
Yeah, this is. I haven't backed anything on Kickstarter in years, and this is one that I think I will probably back. And something that may be interesting for a lot of our listeners is one of the pledge options is for Nintendo Switch Physical Edition.
There you go.
So they hit the stretch goal to get the physical edition, which is awesome. Although I would like for them to not hit the next stretch goal because that introduces fishing, and I am sick of fishing in games. Can we not get fishing?
Look, I've toyed around. I need to bring it up with Al. We need to have the fishing episode. Like, there are good fishing out there. Sonic Frontiers has good fishing.
I have not.
Um,
I was about to dispute you, but I have not played Sonic Frontiers,
well,
so.
there you
But I
go.
refuse to believe that there is good fishing.
there is. Look, did you Sega Bass Pro Fishing back in the day? That was some good fishing. But regardless, who knows? It's still, I don't know where they at right now. They're at 170. I don't know what that converts to in euros, but I think they might actually be dancing around it. Hold on, let me just check
Yeah,
the numbers.
it looks like they're pretty close. They will undoubtedly hit that fishing minigame stretch goal.
Yeah, very likely. Oh wait, they hit it. I just checked the conversion. They haven't updated it, but they have hit it. Fishing coming to Mika and the Witch's Mountain. So there you go. But yeah, check it out, people. It's got a very thorough Kickstarter, which is nice, and the game looks. Look at that! Oh yeah, they're right there. The art's right next to a post of the Wind Waker and Kiki. It's right there. Yeah, no, great. I just want to talk about this game all day. I want to play this game. But we'll have to wait for that. Um, but a different game that you can play now and don't have to wait for is hold on, wait, I lost the thing.
Island of Mine.
Thank you.
Uh, so I hadn't actually heard of Island of Mine until Al dropped it in the news here. But it's getting a mobile release, and looking at some of the info about this, it kind of looks island builder-ish, discovery-ish, and it kind of looks like a great game for mobile.
It does. It looks like a very, not in a bad way, small game, like a game that would
Yes.
fit well on a mobile screen. Um, and it looks like you can just kind of click and drag to move your character and whatnot around. I think. the trailer that you can see on the Twitter that will be in the show notes. I think it shows some of the interface, and it looks pretty intuitive for a phone game. So that's very cool, and it's a very nice pixely, cute game. So good for is it Bonky Dev? That's the name. Yeah, it's already available as we mentioned on itch.io, but it'll soon hit mobile, and that's always a big thing for indie developers because that's a huge market. So good for them. Let's see now. That speaking of indie pixel-based games, let's talk about this unnamed game by one Sean Young, who is the developer behind Littlewood and a few other games, but that's one that we have covered here on the show before. So it is as he describes it, a Pokemon-like game with town building and life sim elements. So looking at this trailer, I will say I believe that he's achieving this goal. He's been working on it since at least 2021. His art, I think, looks great. I think the monster designs are cute, and it looks like town life, and you interact with people. What do you think, Johnny, about this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's my big problem is or not problem. My concern with sort of a pitch like this is what's the thing that this is trying to do that's actually going to be unique or interesting? What's the central gameplay loop? I mean, just to go back and talk a little bit more about me because I'm really into that style game. Is like the premise being delivering packages, and when you watch the trailer for that game, you can see how it feels like the world has been crafted around making that a really fun sort of experience. To me, this looks like, yes, it's got Pokemon and town building and life sim elements all smashed together, but so what, right? So, to me, a game like this is like, how does adding those three things together make something that's new or different or interesting, not just there's a bad Pokemon RPG or a third of a bad Pokemon's RPG stapled to a third of a bad town building simulator stapled to, a bad dating life sim game.
Okay, you know what? You have a very good point, because in my head, I can see how these elements work together. You catch a little Pokemon and they help you, I don't know, build your farm or interact with people or whatever. But to be fair on the trailers, they're just kind of standing around, aren't they? These little critters.
Yeah, and this could be super early. It sounds like it's super early in development, so I don't want to be
Yeah.
overly
No,
harsh.
sure.
But I guess I'm just looking for, and this is true of any game that I look at, right? What's the thing that it's doing that's unique? What's the reason to play this game over any of the thousands of other games that we all have access to now?
Yeah. That is a very good point. But we'll see. I mean, this guy, Mr. Sean Young, does have a couple of games under his belt, so here's hoping that experience pays off and this comes out to be cool. But like you said, it's still early in development. I don't see this coming out this year. Very likely. But follow his Twitter for more updates. Yeah, he posts updates, but they come every few months, it looks like. Speaking of updates, like 90% of our news, Wildflowers is getting an update. If I recall correctly, this is the game where you run. Oh wait, no, it's not running Flower Shop. You become a witch. Yep, there you go. The character Violet is riding a broom. So it's getting a big update that you now run a boutique and create new outfits and a photo mode. Okay. I'm just looking here at the trailer.
So I think the summary is, if you're playing Wildflowers and you enjoyed Wildflowers, this looks like a great update. If you are not playing Wildflowers, this is probably not an update that's going to make you excited to play Wildflowers.
I agree. I've seen trailers for this before through, talking about it on the show. I have mixed feelings about this game. Something about the art style turns me off a little, but it feels very, I don't know if ambitious is the right word. Um,
The art style reminds me of like animated Bratz dolls, which I don't think is a good thing.
that's what a specific call out, but yes, that's accurate. Oh, what a deep cut. I like that. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing for me because it's clear that they put a lot of work into it. It's full 3D and like the animation and quality are nice. It's just the art style's not speaking to me. But we'll see. I've taken interest in this game for reasons I won't talk about because I don't know. I might bring it up at some point in some future project. But for people who have played Wildflowers, there you go. There's an update for you. I don't think we have an update. Oh, February. Nope, it's coming out soon. Okay. Well, wait, it is February, so that's really soon. I don't have a specific date. Oh, okay. Speaking, well, actually, when is this coming out? Oh no, and this next game is already out now on iOS and Android. This is Princess Farmer, a game which has existed previously. It's a pixel-based match 3 game, aka your Tetrisy puzzle-like games. What have you seen this before, Johnny?
I had not seen this before. I think I remember it being talked about on the show. And I'm pretty sure when it was talked about previously on the show, there was the discussion of this would be a good, phone style game. And now that it is out on a phone, I feel like I am way more likely to try it. I feel like a Match 3 visual novel feels like it's sort of ticking enough boxes that it sounds like the sort of thing that might be interesting to give a go.
Yeah. Um, like I agree. I mean, yeah, those kinds of games are perfect for the phones, right? Match 3 type games. And the art style is gorgeous. I think the pixel work is great. The animations are really dynamic. I'm not 100% on board with the character design. They're like bunny people, but that's a personal preference. The like technical artistic quality is really
I just looked it up on my phone, and apparently it's free. So there's some obviously
well,
in-app microtransaction monetization.
okay.
So
I don't know what, but
I don't know what that would be, but it's at least
emoji.
if it's free, then that's a good reason to give it a go.
Yeah. I will say, like I said, the character design is not for me, but I will give them points. They're trying to be very inclusive. They got pronouns on all the characters. They got all sorts of body styles and shapes. So good for them for representing all these bunny people. And the actual puzzle game, it does look kind of fun. With how dynamic and fast it moves. So it's free. So go check it out if you're interested. I might. I like puzzle games. And no price better than free. Okay, and let's see. Next. Oh no! We made it this far in, but this is our first delay. Fae Farm is going to be delayed in late 2023. Let's see here. So Fae Farm, again, one of those kind of generic sounding games. But this one, I will say it's understandable why it's delayed. It's pretty ambitious looking. It's full 3D. You got your standard crafting, resource gathering, and they put an emphasis on multiplayer. It looks like, so it feels MMORPG ish to me.
Yeah, this game looks really ambitious, and I think it's just going to be the first in a series of games that get delayed this year. I still feel like, because they say in the delay late 2023, if this game comes out this year, I will be surprised.
Yeah, I would be surprised too. Because it looks very ambitious, but hopefully it plays well because I do appreciate games that put an emphasis on co-op. And based off the Twitter and looking through it, they have a lot of passion for the project. So, and the work they do have does look good. It doesn't look bad. Just it's a lot of work. You got even your room decorations, your standard Animal Crossing type stuff. But well, and no rush, of course. Plenty, like you said, plenty of games to play. So, speaking of games with well, this isn't a delay, it's a roadmap, so it's more like updates. Updates that are coming. Let's talk about Lens Island. They have dropped a pretty ambitious and big roadmap.
Yeah, so
Uh,
the key takeaway for me from looking at the roadmap is the last thing on their roadmap is to finish the second to last chapter of the story. So, kind of my takeaway, because Lens Island is something that I'm like loosely interested in, but I kind of want it to be done before I try
yeah,
it, is that based on their roadmap, it will not be done. So, I'm sure if you're into Lens Island, you're probably aware of the roadmap and excited about it because it looks like there's a lot there. If you're like me and sort of waiting for the game to be finished before you want to jump in and play it, check in 6 months' time.
yeah, because they have updates pretty much for every month till August per the roadmap. I agree. There's some big updates that are missing, like controller support's one of the first ones. um, Compendium, that's a big one. But towards like June, they have some really big ones like creative mode and survival mode, etc., etc. But that looks like it might be. Well, it said in July to August we'll get the second last act of the game.
Yeah,
So it's the
exactly. So
last act.
the game still is not done. So it seems like there's
Second,
going to be
okay,
5 acts, and I would want to wait until Act 5 is out before I play it. So
okay. I'm just wondering because it says second last. Did they mean second to last, or there was a last act and now they're doing another last act?
oh, I
Regardless.
assumed that was second to last, but I see what you're saying.
Well,
No. If you read down below, it says finishing Acts 4 and 5 of the game, so they do mean
yeah.
second to last.
Okay. Well, yeah. So at that point, hopefully, well, we'll be at least closer. We'll have a much more robust game and better idea, I think, of what it looks like, the whole vision. But yeah, and good for them for like aiming to have everything consistently dripping out for the rest of the year. That's if you're already playing Lens Island, that's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about ambitious games, right? Limbs Island has always stood out as a pretty ambitious game. Just looking at the visual style of it, right?
Yeah.
It's a good looking game.
Yeah. Speaking of things to look forward to and good looking games, question mark. Disney Dreamlight Valley is getting an update. Wait, is this only update 2? I thought they'd done more.
No, this must be at least the
Oh,
third, if not the fourth update.
no. Yeah, no, I was looking at older tweet. I apologize. Um, let's see here. Have you been keeping up with Disney Dreamlight? Because you were one of the ones who talked about it.
Yeah,
Um,
I really liked Disney Dreamlight Valley. They're sort of now in the continual updating stage. One of the things that I find at the moment is that I find it really hard to keep up with games that require you to sort of play daily or play frequently in order to progress. So I'm kind of on a bit of a break from Disney Dreamlight Valley, and it feels like the sort of thing where I might drop in a year and catch up on all of the content that I missed. And I know they are doing some event-based content, so there's some stuff that I'll miss from
yeah.
that. But I believe this update is the Encanto. I think that's what's coming in this one. Which should be exciting. I didn't see that movie. I've kind of not seen many Disney movies in the last few years. But yeah, it's good just to see them continually adding stuff to the game,
Yeah.
and getting it ready for full release, because I don't believe it's actually out of early access.
Nope. Nope. And oh man, I'm still remembering Mike alerting about paying for the free game. But yeah, there you go. Oh man, I'm just looking through. They have done a lot of updates. Good for them. And Encanto, all I need is Bruno, really. But we don't talk about him here on this podcast. Next up on our list, what we will talk about is Flutter Away. This is okay.
This
This
is
is a game for Cody. It go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a little nature exploration game. It's set in the Amazon rainforest. It looks like there's a lot of taking photos of animals and putting them in a journal. One of the things that I haven't had a lot of time to look into this game, but it kind of says that you're on a 5-day camping trip, so I wonder if there's sort of like a time element to it, not
Oh,
just in terms of, uh, you have a day-night cycle, but actually maybe it's about how much can you get through in those 5 days, something like that. Maybe a time loop sort of thing. I don't
that's
know.
what I was thinking. Majora's Mask this. I'd be down for that. But no,
Um,
I could see where like on day 4 or whatever, you have two. Well, I'm just reaching out here. I don't see any evidence of it in the game, but just imagine like different animals appear on the same day. You can only pick one, and gives you a reason to go back. It looks very
exactly.
chill. It looks very pretty,
Yeah.
and they're using real specific scientific names for the animals, so they care. Um, it looks very very relaxing.
And
Uh
apparently it will be launching this year.
oh. Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear Cody's thoughts on it. There's capybaras. We get a lot of capybaras on this show. Um,
Maybe
so
that's what makes a cottagecore game. It's the existence
maybe
of.
that is the definition. Maybe we. Oh, yeah, you solved it. That'll do it. Sorry, Stardew, you're no longer cottagecore. Okay, I say that. I don't know. They've added so much. There might be capybaras
Yeah.
now. um, eh, and in this game, I'd be very surprised to see a capybara. The next game we're talking about is Traveler's Rest. Um, it's a game where you run an inn/tavern. Uh, okay. So looking at it, my first thought is I love the premise. I love running businesses and games where that's the focus. I don't know what it is about it. I just love it. Um, they're kind of hit or miss, but I love the idea always. Second thought is, boy, they like Stardew Valley.
Yep.
uh, that inventory looks like Stardew Valley a lot. Legally distinct. That said, though, the game looks nice. What are your thoughts, Johnny?
This game looked too derivative of Stardew Valley for me to get excited about it. And I think in particular, right, I was really into the concept when I was looking at the trailer of, running an inn. There was the game Moonlighter, which I liked the concept of. I thought sort of, and that's when we were running the shop during the day and
Yeah.
exploring dungeons at night. I thought it wasn't particularly fun to play, but I thought the idea of running a tavern seemed really cool. I thought that could push, farming, cottagecore style, things into some very specific directions, right? Make that the central focus behind the activities you do in the
Yeah.
world. And when it got into the stuff out in the world, that looked like every other farming game, and it
Yep.
was kind of disappointing. Like, if it's a inn, go really in depth on a beer brewing system, or raising pigs to put on a spit, or like something related to what I'm doing. But when it was just like, you can fish and grow crops and mine, and I was just like, yeah, like every other game. I don't
No,
know. I still like the concept, but yeah. Sorry, you go.
no, I'm just gonna say I fully agree. Like, you're right. My heart also dropped a bit when they hit the outside world because I like I say I like business type games, but when they go all in on running the business, like, what is it, Papers, Please? That, like, it's the
Yeah.
same idea, right? Where you're doing a very specific job and the game's all about it. I love that thought. I would love booze brewing systems and all of that. But yeah, once you get out, like you said, it really just looks like Stardew Valley. And does what every other game does. Um, let's see. Do we have a release date for this? 2023. Uh, I like it. The first YouTube comment on the trailer. Finally, a game where I can create my dream of opening a true Burger King. um, that said, take a look at the trailer. I mean, it looks like Stardew, so it looks nice enough. Um, and it'd just be nice to really focus on the tavern. But we'll see. That is slated for possibly later this year. Next up is this is already in early access. It is called Fabledom. It is a city builder. Oh, I'll just read the blurb here from Steam. Once upon a village, set in a wholesome fairy tale world, Fabledom is the ideal laid-back city builder. Enjoy the growth of your settlement, trade, and use diplomacy to ally or challenge your neighbors, and most importantly, find yourself a prince or princess and live happily ever after. Okay, so I like city builders. What about you, Johnny? Do you like them?
I have like a love hate relationship with them where I really like them, and then I get to that point in city builders where your town becomes unsustainable and then it starts looking terrible as you're desperately trying to keep up with everything, and then I really hate them.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the curse, right?
Yep.
Uh, like,
But no, I do like them, and I
yeah.
think this one looks really cute.
Yes, that's the biggest thing. I was gonna say I love the art style. Cartoony. The like main characters that they're showing have little beady dot eyes. The main guy, he looks like I don't know if you've seen oh gosh, what was that Italian movie? Or you say Italian, the Disney movie. I can't
Oh,
remember.
so you weren't referring to the new upcoming Mario movie?
No, not that one. Um, the movie with the fish kids. I can't remember. Jeez, Luca. Luca. I don't know if you've seen Luca, but they look like characters out of Luca, especially the dad. Big mustache, little eyes. Very cute art style. The gameplay looks well developed. Everything's running smoothly and looks nice. I don't know how big this village can get. I see lots of people carrying boxes, little fishing, but I do think that the premise of trying to stay in the like medieval fantasy middle age setting looks good on this game. And everything's very stylistic. The sheep look adorable. They look like curly little balls. Um, so I have an interest in this game. I will admit I like city builders.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think looks great. Like I said, the gameplay looks good. It looks like it can get quite big. In one of the trailers, they show sort of like building the or what looks like the start of building a castle. So that seems pretty exciting. Um, and I guess the whole vibe that it gives off is just a bit more relaxed than, this isn't like Cities and Skylines or Sim
I
City sort of like, you know, intense city management style game. It does look a little bit more relaxed than those sorts
yeah,
of games.
I think it's important to note that in the trailer I don't think I saw one menu, which is crazy for a city builder. Um,
Yeah, that's a great point. Like there's no bars over things or like
no. Yep. It's not spreadsheet simulator. You can and looking at the militia, they look cute. I love the art style. They all have the little beady eyes and big noses, with big, bushy eyebrows. But yeah, that should be fun. Do we have?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
we
just
have it.
a thing is that a demo will be available from February 6th to February 13th. So I think when this episode comes out, we'll be right in the middle of that window. So you've got a few days to
Ooh,
try the demo.
yes.
And I believe the demo will be on Steam only.
Yes. Yeah. There is, and there's. Wait, is that the same as early access, or is that different? I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, no, they have early access available. It looks like. So I don't know if that's different from the demo, but regardless, check it out. It looks fun. I will probably be following this game closely. It looks very cute. And I think
Cool.
that wraps up a rather
Nope.
hearty round of news for
Nope.
this week.
We got one more,
Um,
one more, one more.
oh,
We have Koru, which is a botanical adventure, announced on Steam. This game has a great art style. So the premise is you're a botanist on a journey to start an apprenticeship with an elusive Dr. Linney. There's not a lot of detail about the gameplay or what exactly this game will be. It has a release date of 2024, so kind of very placeholdery. But the art style is... I can't think of what it's reminding me of, but it's that sort of very storybook style artwork that often leads to really good puzzle. I kind of associate this art style with really good puzzle games. So
well,
I'm really
I don't know
excited
if
by
you
the look of
played
this.
it or not, but this looks like a Professor Layton game. The art style, if you're familiar with that. I say the game, but the art style looks like Professor Layton. That's what comes to mind for me. It looks, yeah, but like you said, very storybook like. yeah, if we don't, the trailer doesn't show that much, but some of the pictures on the Steam page I think show a little more. Wow, that art style is just beautiful throughout. Yeah, this was very nice. Scheduled for January 1st, 2024, which I would say means somewhere in 2024. Um, but yeah, thank you for catching that. I missed that. That is again Koru. You can check it out on the trailer and some images on Steam. I'll have my out on that one too, because that is I just love pretty art styles. That's really one of the, I think, strong points of cottagecore, that you can have some really nice art styles when you're not, not doing Stardew.
Right, and I think that is all the news.
Okay, yeah, for real this time. Didn't skip any now. Okay. All right, so now let me get my trumpet out and play, what is it, taps, the traditional funeral song for our dear fallen consoles, 3DS and Wii U. At least the 3DS. um,
Yeah, I'm not sure the
there,
Wii U's getting many people showing up to its funeral.
uh, especially since like 99% of it is now on Switch. um, but let's see. We have looked through a handful of games, and I think really we can put it into three categories. On the 3DS, we have Harvest Moon and Story Seasons. Those are two categories, and on the Wii U, we have your farming simulators. So, I guess, okay, have you ever played a farming game on either of these consoles, Johnny?
So, not in depth, but thinking about, I'm pretty sure I downloaded some demos for either Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons at some point.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I have. I'm thinking back. I know Rune Factory 4 I always wanted to, which was it the 3DS game, I believe, for Rune Factory 4, and then I got a Switch special release. So, I guess don't be too worried about that one, because you could just play on the Switch at this point. Um, but as for the other games, like I feel like a lot of what or at least the stories, we can start with the 3DS, the Story Seasons and the Harvest Moon games. So Trio of Towns is one that sticks out because I recall that was one of the early episodes on this podcast. And it actually seemed pretty in depth and enjoyable, as we can imagine from Story of Seasons games. If I wanted to go back and pick one up, I'd probably start with one of the Story of Seasons games. Um,
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat where if I was
mhm.
wanting to go back and play one of the games on the 3DS, I think Story of Seasons, Trio of Towns is probably what I would pick, and it might be for exactly what you said because it was one of the first games that was covered on the show. I think what's interesting about this sort of group of 3DS games, and you look back at it, is I think it's one of those eras that is historically very important to the genre. But when we look back with the knowledge of things like Stardew Valley and all the progression that's been made in the
Mhm.
farming game cottagecore genre in the last few years, they also feel very dated, right? They're not old enough to quite be nostalgic,
Yeah.
but they're also not new enough to sort of meet modern standards. But I think when you look through, and I don't want to undersell, there's a lot of these games, right? I think there's 6 or 7 Harvest Moon and Story of Season games that were available on the
Yeah.
3DS. And
And
when
like
you look through
4
it, you can
farming sims. Hmm.
yeah, you can see the foundations for what really set the plate for something like a Stardew Valley to come through, and they kind of were the genre before something like Stardew really helped to redefine the genre.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very well said. I also want to point out in particular, we have the game called Story of Seasons, no subtitle, which I think marks the point where the original Harvest Moon team made their first or the game got localized here as a Story of Seasons game. So that's a pretty important part of our farming cottage core history. Um, One thing I will say, and I say this in general about 3DS games, I haven't played any of these games or know them in depth, but I still think the two screens work great for inventory and things. I don't know if these games utilize it, but I think most farming games could benefit from that, so that might be enjoyable for me still to go back and look at if that were the case.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think the one of the things I miss about the 3DS is the two screens for things like either menus or inventory management, and that's something that I would love to see someone take another stab at because I'm not a huge fan of the Stardew Valley inventory management style system that's kind of become the default. Well, it's actually not even Stardew Valley, right? It's almost the Minecraft
Yeah, yeah, you're
inventory
right.
management style system, which I'm not a huge fan of. So,
I'm not either.
um, if someone could find a new way to do it, and I think the 3DS are, I would want someone to see how do you do the two screen thing on a single screen because it is a great way of doing it. And the other thing I'll say, sort of looking at a lot of the Harvest Moon Story of Season games, is in many respects, I think a lot of them look like more pure farming games, right? So
Yeah,
in modern
absolutely.
times, we've seen the proliferation. I had a mini rant about fishing before because I'm so sick of fishing being in every game, and it feels like every game has mining and all of these things that lead to a lot of crafting, and obviously it opens up many different things that you can do in the games. But almost, I think, going back to the 3DS style games, I think the appeal is they're probably a little bit more of a pure farming style experience.
I totally agree. That's a good point because my first farming game, Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, which was the part of the original Story of Seasons team or whatever, was pure farming. There was no crafting in that game. I think there was maybe cooking, but uh, like I enjoy crafting and whatnot. I play a lot of Minecraft. It was fine in Stardew, but you, you bring up a good point that like so many games, and we talked about what the Traveler's Rest, the tavern game or whatever. I think so many games just repeating it and adding it feels unnecessary, a bit bloaty almost at times, especially with everyone doing it nowadays. So it is nice just to focus on the farming aspect of it. Because as I mentioned in the last episode with Al, I enjoy the farming activity it's in itself. So maybe looking at like I'm really thinking about the original Story of Seasons, maybe just downloading that just to at least have it for one day, maybe. Um, I like just farming, and so it might be a good reason to go back to that for sure.
What do you
Uh,
think of the art style
mhm.
of the sort of Harvest Moon Story of Seasons style games? Like, how well do you
Well,
think it sort of holds up, or
well, the games that are currently with the name Harvest Moon, the not original ones, I think their art style is clearly derivative, trying to maintain, you know, the confusion or whatever that they were for the Harvest Moon games previously. But the actual Harvest Moon Story of Seasons, the original, I like the art style. I like the funny cows and the funny chickens. Um, I think they're especially in this post Stardew world. Like I think they stand out a little bit more. Since so many games are now derivative, I feel of Stardew. Even if it's not pixel, like you can kind of feel the DNA in a lot of them. But going backwards towards Story of Seasons, like it is in maybe a bigger sense, kind of generic anime-y. But at least in this corner of the world, I think it stands out, and so I don't mind them. What about you? What are your thoughts on the art
yeah? I
style?
mean, part of the reason I asked the question is because I have the same sort of take. I played the Switch Story of Season, Pioneers of Olive Town, and part of what made that game stand out was the art style. Right, it's this very for some reason, the word that always comes to mind is it's just very round art style, which I
It
think is what
is.
makes it
Have you seen those cows? They're oval.
right. Like
They're
everything
great.
is round and bouncy,
Yeah.
and I think it is distinctive. And looking back through some of these 3DS games, it is part of what stands out is that the Stardew pixel art, inspired norm, I guess, that we have actually wasn't the norm for the longest time, and there was this
Yeah.
more cartoony, anime esque style art, and I think it does hold up because, like you say, it is different.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm talking myself into getting Story of Seasons before the eShop closes. Because oh man, I know the Wonderful Life remake is coming out, but I wouldn't mind. It's been a long time since I've actually played a Story of Seasons game. And one thing I should note, I looked up some of the reviews, and the reviews for the story of season games are strong. 7 to 8 out of 10s, roughly.
Which is pretty strong for a farming game, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, absolutely.
I think for a farming game to really get to a 9 or a 10, part of the conceit needs to be you need to be really into farming games.
Yeah,
So which
you're
we
not
are. So
wrong. That'll be interesting to see if one day we can get a more universally accepted 9 or 10 farming game. I don't know what it would take to get to that, but that would be interesting.
Stardew might. I mean, I'm not big on
Yeah,
uh,
Star
reviews,
well,
but
Stardew's definitely at top there. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And that I think covers the 3DS. Um,
Yeah, do you want to
kind
talk
of.
about Rune Factory 4 at all? Is that
Oh,
I actually lost track. Is that
I
3DS? I think it is. Yeah.
okay. Yes, it was. So I've mentioned this before. As noted by my last year's 2022 games looking forward to, I've always wanted to get into Rune Factory and still have not, despite Rune Factory 5 coming out. I I can't so I can't speak to Rune Factory 4 versus 5 or the other ones, but the biggest thing for me is that there's the Switch edition, which probably has even more content, so I'm not as concerned about it on the 3DS. It might have the double screen advantage, but other than that, I'm not stressed. I don't feel fear of missing out if I don't get it because it'll be available on Switch right now. Um, but yeah, so I can't speak for the like any reason I'm panicking for the 3DS version. But what about you? Do you think there's anything special there?
No, I think part of the reason that I want to talk about specifically is compared to, I guess, Story of Seasons and Harvest Moon, where I look back and you see the history of the genre.
Hmm.
You can see a lot of inspiration for a lot of the mechanics that are present in the games we love today. I kind of look at Rune Factory 4 and it kind of feels like almost the stuff that the genre or we as a community decided we weren't really that into, and it's kind of like Rune Factory 4 feels like it's offered its own little Rune Factory box, and you're kind of either in that box or you're not. And
Yeah.
looking back at Rune Factory 4, I think confirmed that I am not in that box.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate. One thing I think I mean, yeah, it's interesting because it's also a derivative of the original Story of Season slash Harvest Moon. The original one was called Rune Factory was the subtitles, Harvest Moon Rune Factory, or something like that. But it really just leaned into the anime-y, RPG-y aspects of it. And I think yeah, you're either in or you're out on that. Like I think just looking at even just the art style, I think it's easy to see if you'd be into that or not. And we have 5, so I can't speak much to the Rune Factory games, but I imagine it's one of the games that there's more quality of life as time goes on. Um, so yeah, I don't know. You can check it out on Switch if you want, dear listener. But I think that's all I can really say. I know it was one of the bigger games for the 3DS, at least in this, people who are fans of this genre. It was a big deal in Japan, especially. I think it gets a lot of fanfare. Um, so I'm not. It's nothing to see that. It is definitely a robust game. I will say that. Okay. Now here's a question: what is Farming Simulator like, Johnny?
Uh, Farming Simulator is maybe the most accurate title for a game I've ever seen, right? So I've been playing a little bit of Farming Simulator 2022. And that game is just a farming simulator. It's you harvest, you grow crops, you harvest crops, you have to use all of the different vehicles. To kind of actually focus my thoughts somewhat, I haven't played a lot of Farming
Oh,
Simulator, but the Farming Simulator that I've played, it's not as much about the farming as it is about the vehicles that you drive while farming.
right. Okay. First of all, I think I didn't address this properly. We're making history here. Actually talking about Farming Simulator, someone who has played it on this show for the first time in our 4+ years running or whatever, however long we've been going. So congratulations, Johnny. You've broken new ground. You went into the line we didn't want to cross. But secondly, as someone who hasn't played it but has seen it from the outside, yeah, I fully agree, right? Like I remember one of the biggest news in Farming Simulator world before our podcast was John Deere being added to the game. Um, which for people who don't know, Johnny, you might know, is an American tractor company, big farming
Oh,
equipment
it's
company.
not just an American tractor company.
Okay. All right. I
It is
don't
a
know. I don't know
global
how far it
brand.
goes out. Okay. Well, there you go. Look, I live in the American South, so it's more than a brand here. It's a lifestyle for some people. I live in the farming simulator. Um, but so, and the thing, so I see, was it 4 that were on the Wii U? 12, 14, I didn't know they come out in 2-year increments. Very cool. Better than annual increments, I guess.
Look, I'm shocked that there's enough people buying these games for there to be a new one every 2 years. That is maybe the most shocking thing to me.
Look, it's, you know what? That's a good point. Like, I don't know anyone who plays it, but it has to be big. It's like the sports games or Just Dance, where it doesn't die. Who knows? Maybe in the future it'll be like Just Dance got another Wii game after it died. We'll get another farming simulator game on the Wii U. Um, I do wonder if the Wii U ones had any use of the pad, if you could do anything with it. That would be nice, but something tells me that's probably not the case, because these are everywhere, right? You can just play these on any console or Steam or whatever. They're just port everywhere.
Yeah. So to talk a little bit about Farming Simulator, because I really want to emphasize how much it is a simulator. And my first experience with Farming Simulator, I sort of jump into the world, not really clear on what to do, and there's a contract to cut some grass and turn it into hay in someone's field. So you rent all of the vehicles. There is like 4 different vehicles that are required to cut the grass and turn it into hay. First, you have to cut the grass. Then you dry the grass. Different, or not vehicles, but attachments that are off the back. Then you have to go over it again and sweep it all into these piles that you can then drive over and suck up and turn into hay bales. Then you have to get the truck to pick up the hay bales, load them on, and deliver them. Like, that's just to cut grass, and that's one of the first things that this game directs you to do. And you drive over the same field 5 times. 5 times in order to just cut some grass. So when they say farming simulator, it is really a farming simulator. And kind of when I look at I went back and looked at the different versions that have been on the Wii U. To me, the most amazing thing is that back in 2012, it looks like they were trying to do the same things that you're doing in 2022, but the amount that the visuals and the graphics have come along is just unbelievable, right? So if you look at 2012, it's pretty janky looking. It's sort of in that old what I typically think of as like the PS2 style graphics, where it kind of looks modern, but in like the worst possible way.
Yeah, that's the stuff. For some people, that's selling to go back to 2012 instead of 2022. But I mean, yeah, this is like, I think any series that has the year number next to it, like, it's probably just better to get the latest one, right? Because there's only moving forward with that one.
Exactly. That's kind of my takeaway from looking back at these games is I'm just not sure what would motivate someone to purchase one of the old farming simulators versus the new one.
Yeah. I agree. So it's, and unlike these other games, you can find farming simulators, and even these older ones, I'm sure you can find them easily on any other system, console, PC, or whatever. So, I don't think anyone's sweating over losing our dear farming simulators on the Wii U. I am surprised, though, that we, in general, didn't get more farming games on the Wii. Well, I say that, but it is the Wii U, right? Like, it was kind of a dead man's land if you weren't a Nintendo game. But in fact, I mean, they just kept them rolling on the 3DS while the Wii U was out, right? Like, Room Factory 4 was, I think, well into the Wii U's life cycle, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So yeah, I find that I guess it's just that much better, more popular, like especially in Japan, where I think at the time these sorts of games had a stronger following because it was pre-Stardew.
Well, I think there's
Oh,
also potentially accessibility issues for smaller developers, right?
yeah, that makes sense. Um, Now that said, there is one beautiful, glaring exception to this, and that is Funky Barn. One game, one little game.
Proving that terrible names for farming games are not just a 2023 phenomenon.
Yeah, you know, you can't. It's part of the genre at this point. Um, so this is a Wii U. I'm pointing this one out because it is the one that sticks out in my opinion. It is on Wii U. I don't know if it's available. Oh, it's made by 505 Games. They've done some good stuff.
It's also available on the 3DS.
Oh, really? Okay. Um, it is how to describe it. It looks like a farming game, but like you're a cartoon farming game because everything's bouncing and moving dynamically. There's UFOs, there's machines spitting out animals, and the pig is eyes are looking up and down in the same time. Um, it's really goofy and fun looking. I think it's just I haven't heard of it before today. I think it's just a standard farming game, but just really goofy and dynamic. And that sounds pretty good to me, to be honest.
But this game to me looks like nightmare fuel. Like when you actually see the game in motion, I don't know. There's something very off-putting to me about this game.
I think
I
that
do not like it.
I think that off-putting feeling is what I like about it. um. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, I'll hope you're putting a link for at least Funky Barn on the show notes because this one, that's an interesting one. Oh, geez, did it have a physical release? Um. Oh wow, it has some good reviews. I'm just looking. I've seen like 3.5 stars rating. That's pretty decent. Yeah. So I don't know what more to say other than go look at this Nightmare and see if you like it or not. This is a very Wii U game. I will say that. Um,
So now that yeah, I'm totally okay with this game being left in the past with the
that's
shutdown
fine.
of the 3DS shop. You know, this is not one that I need to ever go back and
This is the
think about
rallying
past.
cry for people to
But
buy Funky Barn and get the sequel on the Switch.
there's a sequel to Funky Barn.
No, I'm saying we need to get it. We
Oh
gotta
no,
fund
no,
it.
no!
This is the call.
So this is going to be the dividing line between you and me. It's going to be the pro Funky Barn people, which is going to be you and like two other people, and then the rest of us on the anti Funky Barn.
There are dozens of us. um. Oh gosh. Well, there you go, folks. Ending
Well,
this.
I have a question for you, Kev.
Ooh, yes,
So,
yes.
having looked through all of these games and knowing that the 3DS is, you know, that the eShop's going to be shutting down soon, um, do you feel a desire to go back and play any of these games? Are there any that you want to get for, you know, just to maintain access to them? Like, how do you feel sort of reflecting on this era of games?
Mm, I think I like after talking through it. I think I've convinced myself I might get the original Story of Seasons on the 3DS because I feel like it represents the whole era pretty well. And as we talked about, I think it's a bit of a different flavor from the post Stardew Valley world. And I still pick up my 3DS every now and then. I will say, like, as much as I love the Switch or other consoles or whatever, the portability of the 3DS is still kind of unmatched by other consoles. Like, I'm a person who appreciates portability. As I don't always have access to a TV or I'm on the go constantly, a game that I can just open and close the 3DS and pick up or whatever. I appreciate that, so I might pick up Story of Seasons. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same, and I'm with you on the portability of the 3DS. You know, my Switch, the portability is from being docked to the TV to sitting on the couch while
Yep,
someone else watches TV. That's about as
exactly.
far away from the TV that it gets. And I think for me, reflecting on sort of this era of games, you know, I think went in thinking, you know, this is an era of games that isn't quite nostalgic, you know, old enough to be nostalgic. or to be sort of history, and isn't modern enough to keep up with the new modern games. But I think sort of as we've worked through this conversation, as I've looked more into these games, I think this is a really important era for farming games, I guess, in terms of setting the foundation for what's great today. But I think there's also something nice about the simplicity, right? These games weren't trying to compete for airspace with a new gimmick or doing something different. They were just unapologetically farming games. And so I do think, for me, the one that I was looking at is Story of Seasons, Trio of Towns, and I think that's partly, because of the connection to this show. But I feel like going back and having one of these games actually does sound like something that I'm going to do. So And I would encourage all of the listeners to just look at some of these games and to see, is there that one that you missed, or if you want to see, where did if you played Pioneers of Olive Town and you want to see some of the early versions of that, or you just really like Stardew or one of these games and want to see some of the inspiration, go back and look at one of these games.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. And I think that's just a great way to end this segment, and nice little look back at our previous Nintendo consoles. So, unless you have anything else you'd like to add, Johnny, I think we can call that an episode.
Let's call it an episode.
Alrighty then. Thank you for being on, Johnny. Can people find you on the internet? Do you want to be found on the internet?
Nah, just join the Patreon. Patreon.com/thspod. Join the Slack, and you can talk to me in the Slack. If you want to find me, those are the hoops you have to jump through.
Look, you should join the Slack just to see people reacting to my confusion from last week's episode. Some people noticed. Also, as a benefit of the Harvest Season podcast or Greenhouse Patreon, yes, those are the words. As if you join the Patreon, you can get access to the Greenhouse, where we have non-farming game content that is easier to listen to, or not easier to listen to, I should say. Since it's not news-driven, you can kind of go back to those more easy, right? Like, we talk about whatever.
Yeah, they're more evergreen episodes.
Evergreen, that's the key word, evergreen in the Greenhouse, right? And due to our weekly schedule, where it's a little more sporadic than it used to be, but I am in the works of trying to organize a Greenhouse episode discussing other 3DS and Wii U games that you might be interested in checking out before the eShop closes. When that will drop, I cannot exactly say, but be on the lookout for it, because I'm hoping...
Hopefully before the eShop closes.
That would be something to drop it after, wouldn't it? Here's the games you missed out on. But okay. Thank you, Johnny, again for being on, especially little behind the scenes, really last minute save here. He joined on, so thank you especially for that. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Thank you, Al, for editing this and fixing whatever needs to be fixed, although it was perfect, so really you don't need to do much. And until next time, dear farmers, have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin and Stuart. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
That was pretty good for an episode where we, hadn't played any of the games.